I'm going to let Ken roll on through the implementation before we break for questions. So we just have a few more here, and then we can open it up and take people's questions. Ken, let me stop sharing. Am I sharing?
Do you see mine?
We see Ken's.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right.
All right. So we're good. Okay. Okay, so can everybody see that? Is that good? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we just have a few more things to go through before we break for the morning. And I was going to cover four items today. The first is MCP training and what our plans are for that. The second is the status of various guidance documents that are in various stages of completion. Third, a few words about soil disposal capacity, which has been a hot topic, obviously, for the last year or so. And then finally, we have an updated list of waste site cleanup contacts to share with you guys. As far as MCP training, right now we're in the process of scheduling it for staff and for the LSPA. Typically, what we've done in the past, and we're planning on doing this time again, is to roll it out for staff first in the regions and in Boston. That gives us a chance to work out the kinks and flaws and polish it up and get it ready for the LSPA. As far as the schedule for that, we haven't decided and finalized that for sure, but my guess, my sense is that before the first of the year, we will at least have begun rolling it out to staff internally, and then sometime after the first of the year, and certainly before the March 1st deadline, it would be available for the LSPA and the outside world. We do know already that the Subpart I piece of the training is going to be its own separate module. ORS has done an enormous amount of work on this already and has put together a lot of materials for it, and it is pretty thick and it is pretty complicated. So we've decided it's going to be its own probably 2-hour module that will be separate from everything else. So we're sort of thinking it'll be 2 hours on Subpart I will be a standalone presentation, and then 2 hours roughly for everything else will be another standalone presentation. So we're guessing right now it'll be the whole thing will be a total of 4 hours. We're considering all three formats to provide the training: in person in front of an audience, a live online webinar, and a recorded version that can be archived and accessed later. We haven't decided on which ones of these and what order and how that's all going to work, but we are considering all three options. We know that there's a desire to have at least one option to be a live audience. Even though it's logistically more difficult, it's also logistically easier for asking questions. So all three of these are being considered. All three of them may probably be available in some form or another for how we go through this. And more on that will be coming in the coming weeks. But no matter what we decide to do, it will add to roughly 4 hours to the available pile of DEP regulatory credits, which fortunately I understand has been growing lately. So that's good news. Okay, as far as guidance and the status of guidance documents, there's two columns here. The one on the left are the guidance documents that are most directly tied to the deadline of March 1st for the effective date of 2024 for the effective date of the MCP amendments. And the ones on the right are just for general information. I'll get to that in a minute. But as far as the ones related to the MCP amendments that are most time critical, first on the list is AULs. That's been first on lots of people's lists, including yours and ours, for a long time. That is very much in the works. It was last put out for public comment in 2014. Lots of changes were made to it then, and then we received extensive comments from you guys in 2019. Basically, the whole document has been reworked and rewritten. If you looked at the red line version of it right now, you wouldn't be able to recognize it. But our plan right now is that we will have a clean, fresh, complete public comment draft of the AUL guidance document available for you guys by January 1st of 2024. So by the end of this calendar year, that's the plan and the goal. Peg Shaw is the lead on this, and she's invited any and all of you to contact her in the meantime if you have any questions. But she's the one who's doing the lion's share of the work on this. The second one that's tied to the MCP amendments is the risk characterization guidance documents. That's also way out of date. It's also even bigger than the AUL guidance document, and it's an enormous amount of work that is very much in progress. It's been split into multiple pieces and shared with the regions and Boston, and it's being reassembled. And that is also going to be a piece of work that will be available certainly before the regs go final in March. And then the last two are the Q&As. As we typically do when the amendments come out, we do have a Q&A geared just to the amendments. And then finally, the climate Q&A, which Liz already mentioned. And that some of you have already seen it. Those of you who are on the work group, that's been around for a couple of years, but we hope to have that finalized sooner than later and available for everybody. And it'll also be rolled into our MCP training. As far as the other guidance documents on the right, these are basically a to-do list for everything that's on our pile right now of work ahead of us. I wasn't going to go into too much detail on any one of these, but I did want to point out a couple things. First is for the CAM, or the Compendium of Analytical Methods. There are some revisions that are almost ready right now to metals. The 6010 and 6020 series is almost ready to go. There are a number of other methods that need minor revisions and minor tweaks, and those are also happening as well. In addition to that, the updates to the PFAS interim sampling and analysis guidance document is ongoing. So that's happening right now as well. VPH, EPH, I don't know, some of you may know this, but John Fitzgerald has completely rewritten and revamped the original 2002 document. It's very comprehensive and it's a lot of information, and we're taking a look at that now. Also related to that is off-gas treatment. It's another policy that's been around for decades. It's so old, maybe some people don't even know it's there, but that's in draft form now as well. The public involvement PIP process guidance document and fact sheets are being updated right now. Karen Stromberg is the lead on that, and she's in the process of hiring a contractor to help with that effort. So that will be in process as well. The underground storage tank closure assessment manual that's been around for years is also in draft form, and a revised draft form now that's pretty close to completion as well. And then finally, the master Q&A. No, we haven't forgotten about it, and I certainly haven't forgotten about it because it's on my pile, and it's a very large document and it keeps growing. And I know that there's demand for this, and it's in several different pieces. If you have any particular questions about any of it, just let me know. But just to let you know that it is still on our very much in progress and on our plates as something that needs to get done. And then finally, some of you noticed at the bottom here, something we've called COM 23. And as you might guess, that has to do with soils. So speaking of soils, soil disposal capacity has obviously been a big topic for us and for you guys for over the last year. It's reached our commissioner. I understand the Soils Coalition has brought it to the governor's office. It's a high visibility issue that's not going away anytime soon. We've been working with the coalition, with some of you folks. We've had lots of discussions internally with the regions and in Boston. And basically where we're at today is that over the last year, we have invited and we have received a number of proposals for soil reclamation and disposal that are pending in the regions right now. But there's a handful of them that are out there. So they're real, they're real, and they're happening, and they're being considered. It includes reclamation locations, the traditional COM 15 soil reclamation projects, and it also includes sites where the proposal is to move soil from one 21E site to another, which is a little bit of an unusual proposal, but it is one we've taken very seriously, and it is very complicated. For now, these proposals that we have received are all following an ACO process with a soil management plan. But in the meantime, as we've dug into this more and more, is that we're understanding that especially the issue of relocating 21E soils to other 21E sites is very complicated and creates a lot of regulatory and legal hurdles. And we realize we can't really do it justice unless we clarify the regulatory provisions that would be required. And so that's what we're calling a COM 23 policy. It's still very much in the developmental phase, and there's still very much a lot that needs to be resolved and worked on because there's a lot that goes into that. But that's the goal, is to have that also available and to provide more clarity, especially for things like moving 21E soils to other 21E sites. As far as contacts, this is the an updated list of what the folks in Boston that you deal with and interface with. On the left is Liz and her 3 directors, and then on the right are the lead people that you probably have dealt with or will be dealing with over the next in your work. This has been updated to reflect the changes made in the last year. And then finally, the same thing for the regions. These are all these will be posted online, so you'll have these for reference as well. But these are the regional the current regional makeup. Each region is organized slightly differently, depending on their size and their workload. But those are the 4 deputy regional directors with their section chiefs, and again, reflecting the changes that have been made in the last year.